Today my speech will be about the living wage and what it needs to be established, that it needs to be established and maybe changed. The concept of a living wage has become increasingly relevant in discussions about economic justice, social equality, and workers' rights. This essay will explore the importance of establishing a living wage, its historical context, the impact it has on society, influential advocates, and various perspectives regarding its implications. By the end of this discussion, it will become evident that a living wage is not merely a moral obligation, but an economically beneficial for communities and the nation as a whole. A living wage is defined as a wage that is high enough to maintain a normal standard of living. Unlike the minimum wage, which is often set below the poverty line, a living wage allows individuals and families to meet their basic needs, such as housing, food, healthcare, and education. This disparity between the minimum wage and living wage has grown over the decades, leading to widespread discontent among workers and advocates for economic reform. A living wage is essential for decreasing poverty, enhancing quality of life, and fostering a more equitable society. The historical context of wage policy provides insight into why the living wage movement has gained momentum. Throughout the early 20th century, labor movements fought for fair wages and working conditions. The New Deal era saw the foundation of minimum wage laws in the United States. However, during the subsequent decades, inflation and rising living costs rendered the minimum wage inadequate for many workers. In recent years, grassroots movements advocating for a living wage have surged, illustrating the urgent need for change. The Fight for $15 campaign, which began in 2012, exemplifies this movement and has made substantial inroads in raising wages for fast food workers and other in low-paying jobs across the nation. The impact of establishing a living wage extends beyond the financial stability of workers. Numerous studies indicate that workers earn a living wage, they are more productive, more engaged, and more committed to their employers. Companies that pay fair wages often experience lower turnover rates and enhanced employee loyalty. A notable example is Costco, which has committed to paying its employees above minimum wage. As a result, Costco boosts high employee retention and satisfaction, which positively affects customer service and overall business success. Furthermore, raising the living wage has immediate economic benefits for communities and the larger economy. When workers earn more, they spend more. They increased consumer spending can drive local economies, leading to job creation and growth opportunities for businesses. According to a study by the Economic Policy Institute, raising the federal minimum wage to $15 per hour would lift millions of workers out of poverty, reduce the need of public assistance, and provide a significant boost to local economies through increased spending. Nevertheless, discussions about implementing a living wage often face opposition. Critics argue that it may lead to job losses as employers may not be able to absorb the increased labor costs. They also claim that higher wages could result in price hikes for goods and services, which would ultimately negate the benefits of increased wages. However, many economic experts suggest these arguments do not fully consider the broader context. For instance, a study conducted by the University of Massachusetts found that cities that raised their minimum wage did not experience significant job losses. Instead, businesses adapted in various ways, including improving productivity and enhancing worker training. One of the most significant proponents of the living wage movement is economist and labor advocate Dr. Robert Reich, who served as Secretary of Labor under President Bill Clinton. His research emphasizes the critical link between wage levels and economic vitality, asserting that increasing wages leads to greater consumer spending power, thereby benefiting businesses and creating a positive feedback loop in the economy. Barbara Ehrenreich, author of Nickel and Dimed, provides a poignant reflection on the struggles faced by low-wage workers in America. Her work highlights not just the financial challenges, but also the psychological toll of living paycheck to paycheck. Looking at potential future developments, the conversation surrounding the living wage is expected to continue evolving. More cities and states are likely to implement living wage laws as public sentiment increasingly favors fair compensation. Additionally, with the rise of remote work and changes in the labor market due to technology, there will be new discussions about what constitutes a living wage in different regions and industries. Advocates must remain vigilant in ensuring that the needs of workers are represented in these discussions, particularly as economic landscapes shift. In conclusion, establishing a living wage is not just a matter of justice, it is an economic imperative that benefits communities, businesses, and overall health of the economy. The historical fight for fair wages has led us to the crucial point. By supporting living wage initiatives, society can reduce poverty, foster economic growth, and promote a fair distribution of wealth. As the conversation progresses, it is essential that individuals, business, and policymakers come together to advocate for a living wage that reflects the true cost of living. This unity will pave the way toward a more equitable and thriving society for all.